Hi guys, so Brexiteer Ben Habib had his day in court recently where he and other Brexiteers attempted to have the Northern Ireland Protocol torn up because in their eyes it was in breach of the Act of Union 1800. Now, the court in Belfast basically told the plaintiffs, which included Ben, to get lost. This has meant that Ben and his friends are now back to square one again, and they're desperately trying to find anything at all they can use to tear up the protocol. Remember, Ben Habib voted for the withdrawal agreement, but he doesn't like it anymore. Anyway, let's hear his latest attempt to have the protocol ripped up.
Lord Frost made a really powerful case for the invocation of Article 16 and the suspension, in part at least, of the protocol. He set out how the protocol was damaging Northern Ireland, both societally, as economically, as well as the shifting supply chains away from Great Britain to Ireland.
Now, he said this, but did he demonstrate this? Because you can say something in the House of Lords, and you can demonstrate something, and those are two different things. Lord Frost says a lot of things. Has he actually provided evidence to demonstrate that Northern Ireland is suffering economically because of the protocol? That it's suffering because of Brexit, but is it because of the protocol? You have to be quite precise here. You can't just say stuff. And maybe that's why Lord Frost and Boris Johnson have not invoked Article 16, because they don't actually have any evidence. Because you don't just invoke it and it stops. There's a procedure. Well, let's actually look at it. So this is Article 16, and I leave a link in the description. It says, if the application of this protocol leads to serious economic, societal, or environmental difficulties that are liable to persist, or to the diversion of trade, the Union or the United Kingdom, the Union being the European Union, or the United Kingdom, may unilaterally take appropriate safeguard measures. Such safeguard measures shall be restricted with regard to their scope and duration to what is strictly necessary in order to remedy the situation. Priority shall be given to such measures as to least disturb the functioning of this protocol. So what it's saying here is that, yes, you can invoke Article 16. It must be very limited. It's to get over a problem. And you must focus on just that issue. You don't suspend the entire protocol. This is what Ben Habib and his Brexiteer friends wanted to do. They keep saying Article 16 will suspend the protocol. No, it doesn't. It's also important to understand the procedure here. So if we look at Annex 7, it says, I'm not going to read all of it, but it says here, where the Union or the United Kingdom is considering taking safeguard measures under Article 16 of this protocol, it shall, without delay, notify the Union or the United Kingdom, as the case may be, through the joint committee, and shall provide all relevant information. So when you want to invoke Article 16, you don't just invoke it and everything stops. What you do is you invoke it, then you provide information to the joint committee, and that starts the process. But there's also a time that has to pass. It's about 30 days when you talk about invoking it and it actually gets invoked. These are measures to protect the protocol, and unfortunately Brexiteers don't like talking about this.
That in itself, by the way, is an express provision in Article 16 entitling the United Kingdom to invoke that article.
Now, yes, in a sense, he's correct. If we go back to the beginning here, it says about diversion of trade. Now, what does that mean? Diversion of trade. Trade is going somewhere else. But if the UK government has a problem with trade being diverged, then it can invoke Article 16, but it's not doing that. Why is it not doing that? Is it because it doesn't see a problem with this trade being diverging towards the Republic of Ireland, or staying within Northern Ireland itself. Because if it truly had a problem with this, if trade was diverging, then it could invoke Article 16. But it doesn't seem to be the case here.
But having made this fantastic case, having actually demonstrated the need as a government to protect the people of Northern Ireland.
No, this is about trade. It's not about the people of Northern Ireland. We're talking about trade. We're talking about goods moving from Great Britain into Northern Ireland. People doesn't come into this.
He then said that the government had decided not to invoke it. They identified that the people of Northern Ireland are suffering, but they...
No. They said the people of Northern Ireland are suffering, but they haven't actually presented any evidence to support that claim. I don't know the threshold for a divergence of trade. There is a divergence of trade taking place. You know, there are businesses in Northern Ireland that are no longer dealing with suppliers in Great Britain. Suppliers in Great Britain have decided no longer to ship to Northern Ireland because of the problems related to Brexit. So trade is diverging. Trade is increasing north-south in regard to Ireland. But you can't say that this is on its own the reason why you should invoke Article 16. And you're talking about people, you're not talking about trade here.
Going to do nothing about it. He then went on to say that he saw the invocation of Article 16 as a continuation of sort of litigious threats that both sides have been making against each other, and particularly the EU.
But what threats have the EU made? Does the EU have a problem with the protocol? I don't think so. I've yet to hear a complaint on the EU side. All we hear is complaints on the British side.
EU against the UK. Well, it isn't. Article 60 is not litigation. It's not a nuclear button. It is the right of the United Kingdom to pull the handbrake on an agreement that is damaging us.
No, it doesn't pull the handbrake on the protocol. It's you actually said it at the beginning of this video. You said suspend part of the protocol. That's what it does. It doesn't suspend the protocol in full. It's actually a very useful article because it protects the protocol from being completely suspended. It allows you to suspend part of it in order to fix a problem, but it's limited in time and scope. It's not something to end the protocol. Brexiteers seem to think that they have found the magic, bullet or silver bullet against the protocol. Article 16 is not that. I'm sorry.
It is not a breach of the protocol. It is conceived within the protocol that Article 16 should be invoked if damage is being done. But the government...
But you're just saying that damage has been done, but you're not actually providing any evidence to support that.
Just turned its back on the people of Northern Ireland yesterday. Moreover, it completely undermined any negotiating position it might have had with the EU.
What negotiations? The negotiations are over. The negotiations took place in 2019. What negotiations are taking place? There are none. I'm sorry. Once again, Ben Habib seems to think that there are negotiations taking place between the UK government and the EU when it comes to the implementation of the protocol. No, there aren't. Those negotiations are over. The UK government said and wrote it on paper, they signed it, a contract, an agreement that they would implement the protocol. They're not doing that. There are no negotiations, I'm sorry to say.
By brandishing this loaded gun, if you like, and then putting it down and saying it wasn't going to use it, the EU will not take the British government seriously until the British government is prepared to stand up to the bullying tactics of the European Union.
What bullying tactics? All I hear from the British side is, we're going to invoke Article 16, we're going to invoke Article 16. All I'm hearing from the British side is how the EU is being unreasonable, how the protocol is damaging to Northern Ireland, how the protocol is a problem, even though they didn't have a problem with the protocol back in 2019. Once again, the EU have never complained about the protocol. You're complaining about the protocol, even though your government signed it, negotiated it, and signed it.
The EU has no vested interest in Northern Ireland.
What? This guy is insane. The EU has no vested interest in Northern Ireland. The EU was one of the guarantors of the Good Friday Agreement. Now, I don't know whether Ben Habib cares about the Good Friday Agreement, but the EU has even gone further than that. It has pumped money into Northern Ireland. This is the Peace Fund. This is just one aspect of the funding that's gone into Northern Ireland from the European Union. You can see here, between 1995 and 2013, there were 3 peace programs with a financial contribution of 1.3 billion euros. That's just one fund. There are numerous funds. There's agricultural funds. There are structural funds. This is just one example of the European Union caring about the people of Northern Ireland. This is a peace fund about peace. Do these people ever get it?
It couldn't care if the people of Northern Ireland suffer. In fact, if they suffer, the better.
You voted for this. The European Union didn't vote for Brexit. The European Union were warning about the problems of Brexit. People like you said, it's scaremongering. Stop listening to the European Union's scaremongering when it comes to what's going to happen post-Brexit. And now we're seeing the reality. And you're talking about the European Union not caring about the people of Northern Ireland. You don't care about the people of Northern Ireland. Brexiteers don't care about the people of Northern Ireland. If they truly cared about the people of Northern Ireland, they would have supported the UK as a whole remaining part of the single market and the customs union. But they didn't want that. That wouldn't have been Brexit.
As far as the EU is concerned, because for them it proves that Brexit isn't working.
So this is the European Union's attempt to convince the public in Britain that Brexit is not working. So the Northern Ireland Protocol is an attempt. So when Boris Johnson negotiated the Northern Ireland Protocol, the withdrawal agreement, which contains the protocol, back in 2019, he was what? I'm trying to get my head around this. Boris Johnson, back in 2019, signed an agreement that would demonstrate that Brexit wasn't working. Because remember, Boris Johnson signed it as well. It's not just on the European side. So Brexit is not working because of both the EU and Boris Johnson. Am I understanding correctly, Ben?
So if this government cares about the people of Northern Ireland, if it has any care about its obligations, it must invoke Article 16 and it must do it now.
Once again, he thinks that Article 16 suspends the protocol. It doesn't. Invoke Article 16 where, Ben? Do you understand that if you invoke Article 16, it has to go to the Joint Committee and then they will decide how to proceed? Or in what way to proceed? Once again, these people think Article 16 is some sort of red button that you press and then the protocol ends. It's not. It's designed to be the opposite of that. These people live on another planet, I'm sure. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?